It has been nearly a week since a strike shut down provincial liquor stores across Ontario. Premier Doug Ford is urging the union to return to the table, but he is not willing to negotiate on the expansion of alcohol sales. The CBC's Chris Glover has more.
Premier Doug Ford today speaking at a brewery in Etobicoke, saying that he is very firmly in support of the LCBO. He says that his plan to modernize retail alcohol in the province of Ontario is not about killing the LCBO, but he does see it continuing to be competitive in the future. He says that it is a unique part of the retail landscape in Ontario, and even as he moves forward with plans to make alcohol more accessible in more locations, he says that it still has a massive footprint and some of the best employees. The union says in addition to its concerns, especially around wages, it's also concerned about the ready-to-serve alcoholic beverages that will be available in more places, including in convenience stores. The union is firm on this point, saying that this is an important issue that they want out of that modernization plan. They say that it will lead to job losses for its members, but Doug Ford was very firm against removing that piece from his plan. Here's more from Doug Ford.
They want to negotiate over RTD, the deal's off. I'm going to repeat that. That ship has sailed. I've told the employees that the deal is off. It represents a very small percentage of overall sales, and we're putting those into retail. We're putting them in LCBO and convenience stores.
Doug Ford also says that it's just a minor part, as he was saying there, of the overall plan. The sale of ready-to-serve alcoholic beverages only makes up about 9% of the overall market, and he says that he is forging ahead with it. He pointed out that next month, grocery stores will be able to serve ready-to-serve alcoholic beverages, and he called it an important milestone. Now, today there was also supposed to be an important milestone for restaurants and for bars. They were supposed to be able to have wholesalers go to 5 LCBO locations to buy directly and to buy in person, something that Restaurants Canada has said has become an increasing concern for restaurants and bars in Ontario amid this ongoing strike action and the closure of LCBOs. Restaurants Canada saying that their members are becoming concerned that they're not going to have enough stock to sell to patrons who arrive at their locations. Doug Ford did not announce a backup plan to that, but instead today he thanked those restaurants and bar owners for their patience in all of this and reminded them they can still buy product online. Doug Ford says that the best situation for all sides of this issue is to have a deal struck, and a deal struck soon, and he says that he believes that one is close. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Okay, for more on what's behind this strike, we are joined now by Alan Hale. He is a journalist with Queen's Park Today, reporting exclusively on Ontario politics, and we reach him tonight in Newmarket, Ontario. Alan, good to have you on the program.
Well, thanks for having me.
So, listen, I know that you were monitoring that news conference with the Premier today. What was your big takeaway? Because he did seem pretty forceful on RTD, which is known as ready to drink, which has been a big sticking point when it comes to these negotiations, that, you know, the Premier wants to expand these sales, and the union says that that really is infringing on the LCBO.
Well, it seems like the union has been really strong, as you say, on really not wanting to see these canned cocktails, these ready-to-drink cocktails, be sold in grocery stores and in convenience stores. And that has been basically their central demand, the big one demand that they have put forward during this strike. And what Doug Ford did today was to say that is a non-starter, that ship has sailed, that is just simply not going to happen. But he did say that he has been talking to, he's claimed, over 1,000 LCBO workers on Tuesday, and they don't really care about this RTD issue at all. And what they really want is job security from the new alcohol liberalization measures and some better benefits and a pay increase. And he says he's willing to give them those things. So that was my big takeaway, is that the RTD thing is not going to happen, but the Premier has basically promised that they will get some other concessions.
Okay, so you know, there have been other labor negotiations while Doug Ford has been the Premier that he has largely stayed out of. He's commented, obviously, when asked about it, like education negotiations, for example, and other, you know, negotiations. But he seems to be very involved here and speaking out about this strike in particular. He put that video on his social media with him at the barbecue, saying that there are other places where you can get alcohol. There's the interactive map now. What do you think the strategy is here for the Premier and for the government right now?
I think the PCs, the Premier Ford, are a bit worried about being blamed for the LCBO being closed during the summer, which, a lot of backyard barbecues, people heading up to the cottage, a lot of leisure time. And it's the OPSU, the union involved, said that we were going to have a dry summer in Ontario, and that was Doug Ford's fault. And this government tends to skate away on a lot of things. People tend these days to assume things are like the federal government's fault or Prime Minister Trudeau's fault. But I think a lot of Ontarians understand and know that the LCBO is a provincially run thing. So when it's closed, they think, what has the government done to cause this to be closed? And I think the map that we saw with all of the 1,000-some locations we're showing Ontarians where you can go elsewhere to find alcohol is really an attempt by the PCs to say, no, it's okay. You'll still be able to get your alcohol. Don't blame us for the LCBO being closed, because a lot of the people that will vote for them and just Ontarians in general really notice when the LCBO is closed. So it's really about a damage control, I think. They don't want to be blamed for this.
Right.
And they're pulling out all the stops to make sure that they aren't.
What did you make of that map? Because, that was only 4 days into the strike at the time when it came out very quickly. And, the union noted we don't really have a map of family doctors.
Well, it does seem like something that probably took more than 4 days to put together,
right,
if we're being honest. I mean, the people, the government staffers, I know they pull off miracles all the time when they're really motivated, but it does seem pretty likely that they started work on that map maybe, I don't know, could have been a couple of weeks at a time.
Sure.
Whenever it became obvious to the government that there was a very significant chance that that negotiations weren't going to work out. So I don't think this is that's evidence that they were trying to instigate a strike or anything, but I think they saw the writing on the wall and they wanted to make sure, like I was saying,
right,
that people don't go dry this summer.
So last question. The Premier has talked repeatedly for quite some time about his plan to expand alcohol sales in the province. That seems to be moving forward here. How much leverage does the union have on that front and right now, do you think?
I don't think they have much at all, honestly. This is something Doug Ford wants, clearly. And it's not as though we haven't seen the PCs back down on other things like the Greenbelt, but really, this is something that Doug Ford really does want, and I didn't quite understand why OPSU took the stand that it did on ready-to-drink cocktails. It struck me at the time as something the government would never agree to. But after today's press conference, as we speak, the union is meeting with its members to take another look at what the government was proposing to them last week before the strike happened. So I'm thinking that maybe the union is going to be open to some sort of compromise on the ready-to-drink thing. And maybe we had the head of their bargaining committee sort of suggest to us this afternoon that they'd be willing to accept some sort of revenue, the government making up the revenue from lost ready-to-drink sales. So I think actually today we might see some progress. It seems like the Ford has promised some job security and a raise, and it seems like the union is willing to at least consider an alternative to keeping RTD drinks in LCBO stores. So I guess we'll see what happens. I think there's probably some reason for confidence that this might end up getting solved.
Okay, well, we will see, and we'll continue to monitor this one, as I know you will as well. Alan, good to have you on tonight and your expertise. That is Alan Hale, a journalist with Queen's Park Today, joining us from Newmarket, Ontario.